What's up, everybody? Welcome to the Pick Six Podcast, CBS Sports Daily NFL Podcast. I'm Will Brinson. I'm your host. It's Monday, October 5th, and we are thrilled because we have an NFL double header on Monday night, and we are getting two national games. And we got to thank our pals at ESPN because here's the deal. There's broadcast contracts, tricky in a pandemic. Everything's weird in a pandemic. Chiefs and Patriots, pretty popular game. Could have, in theory, squashed it. And they were gentlemen about it, and I believe let us do it. So make sure you get excited for Chiefs, Pats, and Falcons-Packers, which might be an even better game because it's going to be a shootout. Joining me now to break both of these games down, Tyler Sullivan, a.k.a. Sully. What's up, buddy?
What's going on, Will? How you doing?
So you think I just got myself in trouble with that? I think that was a good.
No, I think that's good. It's a nice little hat tip to the other team over there. But we're all dealing with it. So no, it's good.
Originally it was going to be Titans Steelers on they were going to have to do like a Monday night doubleheader, and that was going to be even trickier, I think, because it was going to be a local game. But do you really not want to give the national game to the people? And the NFL wants everybody to see it. And now we have, Mahomes and Hoyer. How can you deny America Mahomes and Hoyer?
It's the clash of Titans. It's great.
Right. The Chiefs are minus 10.5 in this game. And I believe we just got an alert, and you may have known this right as we were recording this, that all the tests are negative. Pats and Chiefs are negative. They've arrived. So we are good to go. Chiefs minus 10.5, over under 49.5. Chiefs minus 700 on the money line. The Pats are plus 500. Patrick Mahomes, 1-2. Straight up as a starter against Bill Belichick, including the postseason. Lost, of course, that AFC title game. Lost in the 2018 Week 6, but then won in 2019 in Week 14, a game that would actually propel them to the number 2 seed and allow them to win the Super Bowl. And a game that Mahomes referenced this past week when they beat the Ravens. He said, maybe it's like me versus Tom Brady. Talking about him and Lamar Jackson. Maybe he's got to get over that hump, which pretty tough spot to say that to a guy who's theoretically your peer. What do you think about this game?
It's definitely interesting. I was looking at it from, it's
a lot more interesting when Cam was playing.
It was a lot more interesting if Cam Newton was playing because I was curious to see with Cam Newton. I thought this was going to be a huge barometer game for him because I think we all walked away pretty impressed with him after that Week 2 game against Seattle, where he's going toe-to-toe at Russell Wilson. Even in a loss, you felt great about where the Patriots were. But then I started watching the Seattle secondary and realized they stink, and everybody was throwing on them. And so I kind of questioned, were we right to kind of really say that, okay, Cam Newton can throw for 400 yards if you need to in a given game. Now I thought that this game would be somewhat of a closer aspect to a playoff game. Can he go toe-to-toe with a guy like Mahomes and things of that nature? It's all out the window now after he tests positive for COVID-19. And now you wonder, okay, what are the Patriots going to look like with Brian Hoyer under center? I was talking to Debo about this before we hopped on the pod. Are they going to run the same offense that Cam Newton was running, or are we going to go back to what we saw a little bit with Tom Brady over the past 20 years? Because Hoyer, he's been on this team 3 different times over the course of his career. So you kind of got to wonder, okay, he knows a bunch of these different offenses that Josh McDaniels has rolled out. What best suits him going forward? And now I think that there might be a little bit of both there. I still think they'll lean towards the running game a little bit. So can they dominate time of possession? Can the running game kind of keep the ball out of Patrick Mahomes' hands? It remains to be seen, but it certainly is going to be interesting to see what kind of offense we get from the Patriots in this one.
By the way, we had I did the FFT Twitch stream on Sunday afternoon with Adam Azer. We had Danny Woodhead join us.
Oh, yeah.
And he said that back in the day in 2011, they had a package called Rabbits. And it was him, Wes Welker, Julian Edelman, and Deion Branch that they would just the short guys.
I like it.
And we were like, Hoyer, he's kind of a rabbit too. So yeah, I don't know what I actually think, Sully, that the Patriots were planning to try and slow things down as much as humanly possible, using Cam Newton in the run game, grinding it out with, Rex Burkhead on little short passes and all that. I think they might want to slow it down even more now. And I know that doesn't You can't run Brian Hoyer.
Right.
So, but I do think they're going to try and dink and dunk and dink and dunk and eat up clock and be physical in the run game. I don't think they'll take shots down the field very often. I don't think they have the personnel to take shots down the field. So I think when you're looking at how to bet this game, you have to, I mean, it's really hard to take the Pats in the spot, but you are getting 10.5. I think you have to say, okay, can the Patriots do what they want, or will the Chiefs be able to impose what they want on the Patriots defense? And I think that's the ultimate question when you're deciding how to bet the game, because if the Chiefs, like the game script, the way it works, is either going to go over or it's going to go under based on what the Chiefs are able to do.
And to me, I think the other factor here in all of this is it's a game day travel. Like, we don't really see this year. I mean, they had to get a special exception from the NFL and the NFLPA to even travel on a game day. And they're not only traveling, on the game day, but they're going in two different ways. Half of them are coming out of Boston, half of them are coming out of Providence. They're flying two separate planes in. It's kind of a screwy way to kind of get into a game here that you're playing later on tonight. Not only that, but you just kind of going through a whirlwind of emotions there too, with Cam Newton getting COVID. You don't know if you have it, this, that, and the other. There's a lot of factors into this game outside of even football for the Patriots. So it's tough to really look at them, even when you're getting 10.5 points to really keep pace here. And the thing that I keep looking at too is, I talked about earlier, like, okay, they might want to try to control the game, slow it down, and use the run effectively. The Ravens tried to do that last week, and they are a much more skilled offense, and they couldn't even do it at all against this Kansas City Chiefs team. Mahomes blew it up, got up to a sizable lead, and then it kind of forced Lamar Jackson to become a pure passer, which he struggled to do. I think that Brian Hoyer should be able to do a little bit of that in terms of that dink and dunk, slice, death by a million paper cuts. Maybe this is a big Julian Edelman game. But overall, I just have a hard time seeing him really go toe-to-toe with Mahomes or even come close.
It's kind of crazy. Yeah, I agree with you. I don't know how the Patriots – like, we just watched the Chiefs blow out the Ravens. How are the Patriots going to keep it close? Football is weird, though, man. Like, sometimes I don't think Andy Reid's going to want to run up the score. I don't think he's going to want to – I don't know. I think he views this as – like, I think the Patriots could easily lose by 10.
It's not out of the realm of possibility, but I also have some questions about this defense in New England, too. It's not like what we saw last year. And even last year, I think it was a little bit of fool's gold because they just had such an easy schedule that they were on a historic pace. And that really wasn't indicative to what they had on the roster, even though they did have, the defensive player of the year in Stephon Gilmore, who hasn't been playing particularly well to start the year. He's had 3 brutal defensive pass interference penalties. And, he got burned by DK Metcalf in that game against Seattle. Like, there's been a couple of instances here where you start to kind of see him take a step back from that best player in the entire NFL stature that he had last year. So I almost wonder now, we're kind of focusing on the offense and what that's going to look like. The defense hasn't been particularly great, especially in that secondary, which plays into, okay, Mahomes could blow this thing up wide open and you can't even try to run the football.
I almost wonder if the Chiefs might be willing to sort of lean into not lean into what the Patriots want to do, but instead of just trying to come out and just light up the Patriots secondary and throw all over them, like, I could kind of see a situation where Andy Reid comes out and runs the ball aggressively, and like we saw him do in week 1 against the Texans.
Well, that's not out of the realm of possibility because he's shown that he's been willing to do that. I mean, when Andy Reid has played the Patriots over the last few years with a legit number 1 running back, I'm talking about Kareem Hunt, he's lit up the Patriots. Kareem Hunt, over the course of his career, 2 games, regular season games against the Patriots, he averaged over 100 yards rushing and 100 yards receiving in the game with 5 total touchdowns. I mean, like, dominating performances. And so now you're looking at Clyde Edwards-Helaire. He can do a lot of those same things. And so if they want to kind of commit to the run game, there's at least some precedent there that Andy Reid's willing to do it and they can find some success there.
So with that in mind, I think it is worth wondering, as you point out, like, the Patriots have allowed a bunch of rushing yards. I want to know what Clyde Edwards-Helaire rushing yard total is, because I think there is a good chance it's 76.5 right now at William Hill. That's too low.
Pound it.
Pound that thing.
Just it's way too low. And I saw that, I was looking at it too. Like, that one to me completely jumped out. I mean, it's minus 110. Like, it's not like, you're not going crazy here. You're not going to retire. But, like, he's going over that total.
Right. There's two paths where he doesn't go over the total. One, he gets hurt, and that, like we lost KJ Hamler and Noah Fant totals. I did anyway on Thursday night. Like that happens. You just got to take the L if he gets hurt. The other one is that Brian Hoyer and the Patriots come out so aggressively on offense that the Chiefs are trailing by double digits in the first half, and Patrick Mahomes is forced to throw the ball all over the place. If that happens, you just tip your cap to Brian Hoyer and say, well done, my friend. Great job. I mean, I guess he could fumble and get benched, but even that's not going to happen. I mean, like, he's going over that total.
Yeah. To me, it just seems like it's a slam dunk again.
I don't know how high you have to make it where it's not a slam dunk. Like maybe 95.5.
I was just going to say, if you put it somewhere in the 90s, then you're starting to say, okay, like, how is this game really going to turn out? He could still have success on the ground, but not go over 100 yards rushing. Like you can make those cases, but yeah, I would say somewhere in the 90s where you start to get some pause. In the 70s, I'm taking that all day.
Yeah. And I like his, I think I like the over receiving 27.5, but I'm not.
So you're talking about yards from scrimmage around 90, give or take, around there. I certainly think that that's possible. Again, if you think that Andy Reid looks at him in the same way that he did like Kareem Hunt, again, they're different players and it's totally, not totally different, but it's different. But still, that general premise, he has shown that he likes to really use his running back as a feature back against the Patriots over the last few years. Yeah. And they've done so to tremendous success. So to me, I think it's a no-brainer there. You can take his rushing yards, combine it with his receiving. I think he's going to have a nice night. For what it's worth, the Sportsline projections that Stephen O sends us, he has 14.6 rushing attempts, 76 yards. They do have the Sportsline loves the over on the receiving yards at they had him projected at 37 instead of 27.5. So I think you could take both, and I think there's a good chance you hit them both, but maybe you wash it out. I get why the projections don't have him at like 140 yards. That's not how projections work. Like you're not going to have a sim that is like, well, we haven't projected for 149 yards. Right. It's not super bold. But he had 25 carries against the Texans, 10 carries against the Chargers in a game they were losing the entire time, and 20 carries against the Ravens. He only averaged 3.2 yards per carry. If he averages 4 yards a carry, he's going to go over 76 yards. And the thing is, I was watching the Patriots defense last week. I was at Gillette Stadium against the Raiders. And Josh Jacobs, again, didn't light things up. But if you're watching that game, was finding success. Again, that offensive line for the Raiders is banged up. Josh Jacobs is banged up. But he was still picking up chunk yardage. So if you're talking about a healthy Clyde Edwards-Helaire and a solid offensive line for the Chiefs, on top of just having to account for everybody else, including Patrick Mahomes, like it just makes a lot of sense that he'll find some success on the ground. All right, let's look at anything else that stands out to you from this game from a prop perspective before we get on to the DFS stuff. Two things, two long shots, and they're both in the rushing category. I was saying to Debo, I go, listen, I don't think that they're going to run the same offense as Cam Newton, but if they want to get weird with Brian Hoyer and they get to the goal line, and they run Brian Hoyer, it's plus 1,000. Could he rush for a touchdown or do the infamous Tom Brady QB sneak? I would throw maybe $10 on that and see what I can do. The other one that I think is interesting and probably a little bit more plausible is a JJ Taylor touchdown, undrafted rookie, plus 1,400. Sony Michel's not going to play tonight. He's been downgraded to out with, I believe it's a quad injury. They might have Damian Harris in this game. He might be activated off IR. They have obviously Rex Burkhead and James White returning. But JJ Taylor was, probably their most electrifying player in that game last week that you just didn't notice because Rex Burkhead had 3 touchdowns. But JJ Taylor was the one that really sparked that offense. To me, that's a guy that I would pay attention to. And if you can, if you find all of a sudden a guy like that, plus 1,400, who has been given opportunity, I like that to see him get in the end zone. I would also add, and this is a little bit juicy, but I don't mind it. Damiere Byrd's over under receptions is 2.5, and it's minus 150. Cam's not in there, but they use Damiere Byrd. He's a big part of this offense, and they don't have a ton of other weapons. So I would be very surprised if he didn't at least get 4 to 5 targets, and if he catches 3 of those, then that hits. So I like that. I don't know that what's N'Keal Harry 3.5. I don't exactly mind that, but don't love it. Yeah. Sony Michel out. All right. Let's look at
Let's look at DraftKings. So, you know what? Actually, Sully. So DraftKings combined the millionaire. They put the two things together. Why don't we take a break? Come back. We'll talk Falcons-Packers, and at the end, we'll do the full DraftKings thing with the combined, because that to me is more fun than a pure showdown. Do you have any showdown ideas for? I mean, I think we both like Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Obviously, I would assume he's going to be. Mahomes will be the chalk, but Clyde Edwards-Helaire will probably be very popular.
Yeah, and if you're just looking for, kind of a sleeper a little bit, just pay close attention to what the Patriots do with Damian Harris. I think it's around 4 o'clock today. They actually have to make that decision if he's going to be activated off IR. And with Sony Michel being out, I think that there's probably a chance that he plays. And so to me, if he's activated, he was clearly their best running back in camp. And if Sony Michel's out, he's going to get some opportunities here now that he's healthy. Super cheap. You could make him a captain and include basically all of the Chiefs' powerhouse guys like Kelsey, Mahomes, Tyreek Hill. You could really start to kind of, craft a powerhouse roster. I mean, I have one where it's Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Tyreek Hill, Patrick Mahomes, and Julian Edelman in there as well. So like
Damian Harris, 4,200 captain price.
Right. Like it's a ton of flexibility on the rest of your roster. So that's a guy that just monitor that one.
And Rex Burkhead, conversely, 10,500 for the captain price. And Burkhead's been awesome. If Harris play, I mean, he had 34.8 fantasy points.
And if you have it in front of you, what's JJ Taylor's?
Taylor checks in at $300 for a captain price.
So you know what? That's another guy maybe keep an eye on because he does have a role. He does have a role.
And he did he fumble or did he did something? He dropped a pass early on.
It wasn't like a turnover or anything like that.
No. But he was targeted once and he dropped the pass. But then he got 11 carries for 43 yards. Like, when you're doing these showdown things, you want to be right, but you also want to be able to, accept.
It's all about low ownership too. Like that's the biggest thing. If you can climb up the ladder on a guy that nobody else has, that's how you're going to get into the green.
If JJ Taylor scores a touchdown and he's $300 and you have him on your roster, I don't think you need to captain him.
Yeah, you don't have to captain him,
but you don't captain him. But like if he scores one rushing touchdown, it's like Brandon Ayuk on Sunday night. Mm-hmm. He jumps over that guy, gets in the end zone. Like the winning roster is going to have Brandon Ayuk on him because he's only 10% owned. So if JJ Taylor's less than 10% owned and he scores a touchdown, you are going to shoot way up the list, and the $300 price tag gives you a ton of flexibility. All right, so those are some good sleepers there for the Chiefs and Patriots showdown. You can play both showdown for that game and the Falcons and Packers, but they have, as I mentioned, the millionaire maker for that. We'll talk about that after the break when we talk Falcons and Packers. Okay, so Falcons-Packers on ESPN, the regular Monday night game, as we mentioned, is a doubleheader, one on CBS and one on ESPN. We have this game checking in at a robust total, 56.5. Packers are -6. That's actually come down. I think they were -7 or so. It probably relates to the fact that Davante Adams tweeted out on Monday morning that he is not expected to play. He has since deleted the tweet, which is a little weird. Apparently, he was like demanding that he wanted to play, and they told him no. There are only, let's see, the 3-0 teams that started 3-0 against the spread last year. In their fourth week, we had Dallas, Green Bay, Kansas City, and the Rams. They all opened up as favorites the following week. They went 0-4 against the spread, and only one team, the Kansas City Chiefs, actually won the game. They were losing to Detroit in Detroit and needed a miracle and a Matt Patricia standard choke job in the fourth quarter to win that game. So you could look to this game and say, maybe the Packers are due for an L. The Falcons +250 on the money line, Packers -300. What do you think about this game, Sully?
I originally liked the Packers, with the knowledge that Davante Adams was probably going to play. Now that he maybe is not going to delete tweets, I don't know. I'm going to operate under the assumption that he's not playing and that he just was getting yelled at by his coaching staff for the tweet. That's probably what happened there. Now I'm leaning a little bit more towards the Falcons, but I just don't love it. My reasoning for going with the Packers and kind of laying the points was just because I don't know if this Falcons team can close. That's not a new headline. I mean, we've seen this over the season and over the last few years under Dan Quinn. And I just don't know in a game like this where it's going to be, or at least was primed to be, a shootout between Matt Ryan and Aaron Rodgers. I want to always go with the better quarterback in that situation and really the better coach team. And I just feel like that's the Green Bay Packers. I don't know now, especially now that Davante Adams is not going to be there. Alan Lazard's not going to be in this game. It's just Marcus Valdez-Scantling. I don't know if there's just enough horses to keep up with Calvin Ridley, who is going to play, and Julio Jones, who is going to play, along with Gage and Hayden Hurst and all those guys on that Falcons offense. It just seems like it's too potent. So to me, if you're getting points with the Falcons on top of all of that, it just makes sense to lean the Falcons' way.
Yeah, I think the Falcons are the easy choice here. Obviously, like him more at +7. And not that I think that the Falcons are better and will win the game. Actually, I do think the Falcons will win the game. I think it'll surprise some people. But I think the reason you lean Falcons here is that we've seen a team in Atlanta that can put up a ton of points, that can get a lead over a better team, and then gag a huge lead. But you don't care if they gag a huge lead if they're +7. Like just lose by less than a touchdown, which is what they did both against the Bears and they lost by less than 7 against the Bears, right? And of course the Cowboys.
And the thing is here, if you don't agree with us, if you feel like the Packers can still win this game, and it's it's going to be all Aaron Rodgers, well, then, what you should do, you should not even really think about this game right now. You should place your MVP bet future on Aaron Rodgers. I believe it's like plus 1,100 right now. If he's able to really show out and continue to be this unreal quarterback who's thrown 0 interceptions, multiple 3-touchdown games already this season, if you think he's going to continue that without Devontae Adams and Allen Lazard against the Falcons team, this is going to be a high-profile game, Monday Night Football. He's plus, I think, 1,100 right now for the MVP odds, or maybe plus.
So he's 11-1 for MVP.
It's either that or plus 700. It's somewhere. Again, you're making some significant money there. I don't have it in front of me, but to me, that's what you should be looking at. If you feel like Aaron Rodgers is still going to dominate, and he does so, well, his MVP odds are going to, only going to get
Josh Allen 11-1, which is a little surprising. Aaron Rodgers 7-1. I don't mind the 7-1.
Still, I mean, that's 7-1 plus 700. If you throw $10 on there, you're still, or $100 on there. Like, it's going to go down if you think if he's going to ball out. Like, it's just going to go down. So to me, that's what you should be looking at there if you think he's going to continue.
Yeah, I mean, it's early. We're three and change weeks in, but obviously Russell Wilson less than 2-1. You don't want to bet that as good as Russell's been. If Rodgers has the better season and the Packers are a better team and the Seahawks don't win the division for whatever reason, it wouldn't be shocking at all if the voters gave it to Aaron Rodgers. The value is better there than it is on Russell Wilson right now. Okay, so we both agree to take the Falcons. Don't take the under here. Just don't do it. Don't get in the way of the under on this game.
Just get out of the way.
If you like the over, take the over. Maybe let it even come down a little bit. It's huge. I get it.
It's probably going to come down. Like if we're talking about the spread coming down with Adams being out, I could see that number continuing to fall with the total. So maybe kind of wait a little bit longer, see how it kind of acts. I know that this morning it was the spread was 7. It's only gone down. It's gone down a full point. So to me, that's something to monitor there. Watch it go down. And you know what? That's something that I would probably look at. Don't go the under, hit the over, but monitor it. See where it ends up falling.
Oh, wow. In the past, 30 seconds, Matt Ryan's total passing touchdowns went from over 1.5 minus 190 to over 2.5 plus 180. I don't think you want to take the 2.5. I have no problem laying the juice with Matt Ryan's over touchdowns 1.5, though. I think you'll probably get 2 passing touchdowns from Matt Ryan. I have no interest in laying the over or messing with the over under on Julio Jones 73.5 or Calvin Ridley 76.5 receiving yards. Both guys could easily get there. The under is probably smarter because those are huge numbers, but you want to get in the way of that? Be my guest.
I like the under on Russell Gage for receptions, 4.5, just because these guys are coming up, you're getting plus 105 on that. Like that, he's probably going to get his yardage totals, but I just don't know if the volume is going to be there now that Ridley and Julio Jones are going to play. Or that to me, he goes back to the third kind of fiddle to this offense, but I think that's good for him. But I just don't know if he's going to start racking up 5, 6, 7 receptions in this one. He'll probably be around 3, 4 with a decent yardage total and maybe a touchdown.
One that kind of stands out to me, it looks like Hayden Hurst has a total receiving yards at 37.5. It's come down a lot. I thought it was going to be in the 40s. He has gotten 38, 72 against Dallas, and then 1 receiving yard for a touchdown against the Bears. I
2 touchdowns in the past 2 games, I'm pretty sure, too.
He's more of a red zone threat, though. He's
Yeah.
not like they don't use him a ton. 30. If you can get something in the 40s, I like it. I think that it is probably a little too low now, 37.5. I don't know that I want to.
If I'm going to go with Hurst with any type of prop, it would be anytime touchdown scorer. Like
I like that.
It just feels like that's where they kind of look at him in this offense. I don't want to really, same thing with Gage. It's the same premise. Now that Julio and Calvin Ridley are in this offense, the pecking order for them goes down. So I just don't feel like, now if you're talking about Gage being the number 3 option, now Hayden Hurst is number 4. And can you really depend on this type of, like we're saying, this is going to go over and things like that, or we feel like it's going to go over, but everybody can't catch, 5 receptions for 50-something yards and a touchdown. It just doesn't work that way. It's
right.
Not that even.
By the way, Sportsline likes Aaron Jones plus 390 to score the first touchdown. You can get him at 4+4-1 on William Hill to score the first touchdown with no Devontae Adams. Not bad. And believes that Robert Tonyan at 16-1 to score the first touchdown at William Hill is a good value as well. And likes Todd Gurley over carries and over rushing yards. Clears it by nearly 20 rushing yards, according to these Sportsline projections. That's surprising.
All right. And I don't know if you see it, but MVS, last I saw, his receiving yard total, and again, this was, before the news with Adams, but it was 51.5.
I think it's up to like 56 and 57 and a half.
I still try to go over that. Aaron Rodgers is going to feed him. Alan Lazard, I think.
Yeah, so somebody.
Exactly. And Alan Lazard had like 146 yards the week ago. Like he's just he has to throw it to somebody. And this secondary isn't particularly great.
Right.
So, he's still going to get his, even though he's going to get keyed on.
Yeah. You could go over 4.5 total receptions for MVS at -120. I like that.
Yeah, I like that.
His total for receiving yards is Jay Sternberger 23.5. I don't mind that. 59.5 for MVS. That's pretty high, but again, like he's the number 1 wideout this week, and there isn't somebody to come in and lock him down. So I don't mind that too much. All right, let's talk about this DraftKings setup. So both, we'll skip the. I don't know if you're going to play showdown for Atlanta and Green Bay. Obviously, Aaron Rodgers, Aaron Jones, the top 2 price guys for captain. Matt Ryan, 1,500. I don't mind Matt Ryan at 1,500, and you assume a shootout, and he's going to put up huge stats.
It's not bad, but again, I don't love doing that just because I feel like everybody does it.
Sure.
And like we were saying earlier with the Patriots showdowns, and you're gonna climb the ladder with everybody else. And so yes, sometimes
at that point you have to hope he's the highest scoring guy, and then you hit all the other guys.
Sometimes these games go chalk, so it could certainly help you there. But I like getting both quarterbacks on there, and if you can, that's great. I think one way that you can do that, because it's not easy when you have guys, both going for over 10K, and Aaron Rodgers is, 11,400. So it's not easy, and that's non-captain. You could put in, and this is kind of a shot in the dark here, showdown specifically for this game. Brian Hill as your captain. That to me is something interesting. 4,200, super cheap. Had a great game last week. He had 9 touches, a touchdown, 40-something yards, I believe. If you feel like there's a changing of the tide here, and I'm not saying that he's going to, completely leap over Todd Gurley, but if you're all of a sudden looking at a timeshare there in that backfield and he continues this, if you kind of want to buy a little bit early on this hype train, that's something I like, because then all of a sudden you have a roster where you can add Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley, both quarterbacks. And again, you still kind of have to have some wiggle room there. You put in maybe Mason Crosby if all of a sudden this offense for the Packers starts to struggle, he starts kicking a bunch. That's a roster that I don't mind, but there's also another one that you could throw in here too that I like just as much with Brian Hill as your captain. It's Hayden Hurst, Aaron Jones, Calvin Ridley, Matt Ryan, and MVS. That one I like a lot. You're putting a lot of money on the table. There's $3,000 still left in your kitty, but that doesn't matter. If you like your roster, it doesn't matter how much money is still left in the till.
With that one, I might even suggest instead of MVS, pay up, because I think you'd be able to do it, pay up and get Aaron Jones, with the idea being, and I don't know if you can for sure, but like the idea being that if you can do that.
No, Aaron Jones is in this one already.
He's already in that one. So you got Aaron Jones and then MVS.
So,
okay,
gotcha. You got 2 Packers. The
idea being is that they take shots to MVS, get a lead, run the ball with Aaron Jones, and then you're firing back. Gurley's off the field. They're dumping down to Brian Hill. I don't mind that at all.
Yeah.
Okay, let's talk about this 2. I don't know how much deep you've looked at the 2 the two-team thing, the two-team setup. But obviously, it's cool because it's a 2-game Monday Night Football slate, so you can choose between Mahomes, Rodgers, Ryan, and Jared Stidham's price at the same price as Brian Hoyer. Jordan Love just underneath him. I mean, I think clearly you're picking between 3 quarterbacks there. You could go super contrarian and take Brian Hoyer. I don't hate it if you wanted to hope that he had 2 or 3 touchdown passes and just sneak something in. But I mean, I'm looking at Rodgers or Ryan and probably Matt Ryan because I think the volume is just going to be there. At running back, to me, Rex Burkhead at 5,000 is a no-brainer. 2,300 cheaper than Aaron Jones, 500 cheaper than Todd Gurley. I do like your Brian Hill call as well. He is 4,200 at the running back spot. And then Clyde Edwards-Helaire, 6,200. We talked about him. I mean, if you think that game script's going to go that way, the chalky spot with running backs will be Jones and Clyde Edwards-Helaire, but you're going to struggle to fill out the wide receiver position. Maybe there's some more value with a guy like a Damiere Byrd, 3,600, Demarcus Robinson, 3,300. And tight end to me is a spot where you can save as well. Kelsey is 6,500. I'll take Robert Tonyan or Jay Sternberger for 3,800 or 3,200.
Yeah, it's not a bad move. My question here now is really with the defense, because I think we think all of these games are going to kind of be shootouts. So where are you going to sit on defense? I don't want to go with the Falcons, and I think that's going to be a popular pick because they're super cheap, and you're going, the news is all negative for right now for the Packers offense. Adams out, Lazard out. I don't know if I love that. Chiefs are the most expensive. You're going up against the New England Patriots. I feel like I don't want to get too cute here. I would probably go with Chiefs and just say Brian Hoyer doesn't have a great game and the Patriots struggle because they're traveling on the same day. I think that narrative is probably a little bit more plausible than Aaron Rodgers is all of a sudden, not being great or this offense not being great because they still have some weapons there and Aaron Jones and obviously, MVS and Rodgers on his own can light it up. So to me, I'd rather go with the least talent I want the defense that's going up against the least talented quarterback. That's what I want to do.
In a game that is probably going to feature less scoring and against a team that's just got off an airplane and doesn't have their starting quarterback.
So again, people might get cute and try to go with the Falcons and say, all right, they're going to stink without Adams and without Lazard. I wouldn't get cute here. Just go with the Chiefs defense, go up against Brian Hoyer in Arrowhead. That makes the most sense to me.
All right, I dig it. That is the Monday Night Football doubleheader preview. Make sure to check it out, CBS, of course, and then on ESPN. Sully, always a pleasure, buddy. Thanks for hanging with me through multiple familial interruptions, as always. Appreciate it, dude.